On a day like this, what could be better than looking at one of the hottest projects in crypto? Polygon MATIC, Reddit Polygon, Adobe Polygon, Prada, Adidas Polygon, even Starbucks went for Polygon. Not Ethereum, not Binance Smart Chain, not Solana, and Polygon had more NFT sales than Ethereum for a couple of months. And the next step, the zkEVM, is now scheduled for March 27th, in 2.5 weeks. So, is it time to dump your ETH, your Solana Sol, your Cardano ADA, your BNB on Binance Smart Chain and go all in MATIC? I've always said that I'll follow adoption. And it seems like a lot of adoption is happening here, right? Or is this all just marketing buzz and build-up for insiders to unlock their MATIC and dump on the community? If anyone is new here, community is often a misleading term for speculators duped into holding the bag when the teams and early investors sell. User Look On Chain writes here today, a MATIC whale unstaked 50 million MATIC, about $53 million, and transferred 26 million MATIC, $28 million, to Binance just now. And here's the Ethereum transaction. I felt for myself I really want to dig a little deeper into Polygon. First we have to understand that we are talking about completely different networks here. There is a Polygon MATIC side chain. That's a completely different and separate blockchain from the Ethereum mainnet. And while there are a few points of integration from the MATIC sidechain back to Ethereum, this could actually be any network, Binance Smart Chain or whatever. But you can stake your MATIC tokens on the Ethereum mainnet to become a validator, and you have a bridge where you can wrap Ethereum or MATIC tokens and move them between the chains. And this MATIC sidechain also saves checkpoints, which represents snapshots of the chain state, and is submitted and written back on Ethereum. There is also something called state sync, which enables smart contracts on the MATIC EVM chain to read Ethereum data from the Ethereum mainnet, even though these are separate blockchains. And then to use the Polygon Proof of Stake network, or the MATIC sidechain, EVM means the Ethereum virtual machine, you can use your MetaMask wallet to access dApps on Polygon just like on Ethereum. MATIC today on the Polygon Proof of Stake network is used for gas fees, staking and governance, whatever that means. There is also an ERC20 token called MATIC. I think what many people are confused about is that there is an ERC20 MATIC, which is an Ethereum-wrapped version of the MATIC on Polygon. And it's necessary to use a bridge to swap the ERC20 MATIC for Polygon MATIC. So this is the Polygon POS, or the MATIC chain of today. It's a completely separate network from Ethereum. Then comes the zkEVM, which is very different. But let's hold that for a moment. Let's start with the problem they solved initially with this Polygon POS or MATIC network. Scalability and cost. Scalability is one of the biggest concerns for the crypto landscape, and it is indeed a barrier to mass adoption. Bitcoin and Ethereum, as we use it today, just wouldn't work if we increase users by a factor 100x tomorrow. It wouldn't. Ethereum's merge to proof of stake was not a solution to scalability or cost, as many thought initially, but I think I clarified that in some videos probably almost 2 years ago now. Sharding will bring improvements to that, but that will take another year or two or more to complete. Polygon from the start positioned themselves as a scaling solution for Ethereum, speeding up the network, reducing costs. And this indeed allows new use cases to enter and the ecosystem to grow. It also allows technology to develop and find new niches. And they were early on this problem. Let's go back a little bit in history. The gentleman co-founded Polygon, then MATIC Network, in 2017. They registered the enterprise in Mumbai and worked out of a house in Indiranagar, Bengaluru. Back then, ICOs were all the rage. Sandeep recalled, blockchain projects were posting their white papers online, raising money without a product to show for, and then fizzling out. Instead of raising millions through a rushed ICO, the team focused on building lasting value, even if this required a slower pace. The co-founder raised only, in quotation marks, 5 million from Binance, and then during the ICO they sold some of the MATIC tokens they held. Then came the bear market of 2018. Then in 2021 they got the attention of Mark Cuban, who invested an undisclosed amount, was renamed to Polygon. Then they raised $450 million from Sequoia Capital India, SoftBank, Tiger Global, Galaxy Digital, and other investors. And during this period, price shot up 23,000%, so that's 230x, until May 2021. I've lived and worked a big part of my adult life in Asia. Most people in the West still underestimate Asia. I don't. The level of dedication, grit, work, intelligence, strategy, and just straight up exceptional performance it takes when you're born on the wrong side of the street in an Asian city is something most Westerners will never quite be able to understand. In short, don't make the mistake of underestimating a project like this or the people behind it just because they weren't based out of Silicon Valley or Stockholm. That also means I need to at least consider the possibility that they are one step ahead of everyone in their strategy, me included. And now they have also added some of the world's smartest VCs to the team. And what does a VC do? Well, they buy and then they sell with a profit. So if we're looking at this from an investment perspective, we have some of the world's best chess players on the other side. Their opening move might not be what it looks like. And in Polygon MATIC, I see the perhaps best strategic narrative management in this entire industry. If you go through the slides, it says Ethereum scaling basically everywhere. But when you dig into how it actually works, you realize that it's really a sliding scale, which they illustrate themselves very well on this slide. A standalone chain on one side and fully secured layer 2 on the other side. And the Polygon proof of stake chain that we are using today, with MATIC as gas, is largely a standalone chain, even though they've kind of drawn it a little bit in. And while they do write some snapshot from this chain over to Ethereum, that's a rather weak integration. It's largely a separate chain with its own coin and a bridge and some extras. Binance Smart Chain or Solana could write the same snapshot as a checkpoint onto the Ethereum network, like they do here. That doesn't make them Ethereum scaling solutions. While I'm pretty sure that everyone on Adidas and Starbucks and Instagram believed they signed up on using Ethereum, just with this extra scaling solution for lower fees and higher scalability. Not some other chain. But now they are actually building the zkEVM and other roll-up solutions, which is much closer to an actual scaling solution for Ethereum. In short, I'd say they took the approach fake it till you make it. Just say it's scaling on Ethereum, while actually it's largely a separate network with a bridge. Not so different from Binance Smart Chain, just smarter branding. I think very smart. The people making the business decisions on Instagram or whatever don't understand how it works anyway. They're not gonna understand this documentation. I realize I come off as aggressive here, but let's hold this thought and continue going through the facts as such. Polygon wants to increase the number of transactions on the network at low cost without losing the security of the Ethereum blockchain. Those are good goals, because for real-world adoption, blockchains need to challenge current networks and their capacities. Visa's transaction speed of 24,000 transactions per second, and whatever the number is, simple transactions are not the same as complex smart contracts execution, so actually it's not easy to compare simple numbers like that. But it gives an idea that the technology still has to scale to compete with centralized systems. That is a correct conclusion. And the main idea here was born as most good ideas out of an actual problem to be solved. Ethereum had faced enormous scalability issues. This article is from February 2018. The inside story of the CryptoKitties congestion crisis. Ethereum faced enormous problems as a result of its own popularity very early on. More and more projects were built on Ethereum and thousands of transactions waited to be handled, but the network could only handle roughly 14 TPS. In 2021 and 2022, the average transaction fee went up to $60 per transaction, known as the Ethereum gas war. And the fact that it's lower now doesn't mean that the problem is solved. There's just less activity. And these costs can quickly add up. Apps and protocols like marketplaces and exchanges produce thousands of transactions per day. For example, Uniswap and the new NFT marketplace Blur.io produce about 700 ETH in fees per day. These costs have to be covered by the sellers, buyers, and the marketplace itself. As of today, the Ethereum network handles about 1 million transactions per day. 1 million divided by 24 divided by 3600 means that the Ethereum network today processes about 11 transactions per second. That frankly isn't much, and this is one of the reasons why people wait desperately for technical improvements that should come with future Ethereum upgrades. And if we look at this over a couple of years, we see that the merge has not improved transaction speed much. Ethereum still tops out at 10 to 20 TPS. The upgrade moved Ethereum away from proof of work, but scaling upgrades like sharding are still estimated, 2023 to 2024. Let's explore it in detail. So, well, it's in the future. But if we read what the man himself says about Ethereum, the Ethereum blockchain is a base layer for a lot of different projects in the crypto ecosystem. And while sharding is no doubt useful, the team's main focus is always to ensure the security and decentralization of their blockchain. Scaling a blockchain is challenging without sacrificing some security or decentralization aspects. The scalability trilemma. Over the last few years, many different projects and solutions have evolved to find ways to scale, picking different positions in this graph. Some built their own blockchains like Solana or Cardano, and some other developed their own execution layer, layer 2, first without token, then Optimism added token, Arbitrum probably will, and then there's Polygon who built their own sidechain, basically their own network. A single sidechain technically can process thousands of transactions per second, and multiple sidechains can run in parallel, and their real capacity is limited more by how fast the main chain can produce and consume new data. For Polygon, the highest load so far was in mid-2021, say 8 million transactions per day by 24. 3600, so about 100 TPS, about 5 times the maximum of Ethereum's throughput under real-world conditions. And that was with transaction fees in the cents instead of tens of dollars. The speed of this proof-of-stake network comes from its rather centralized approach to block producers and validators. Transactions are validated by a maximum of 100 validators, and 7 to 10 of these are regularly selected to work as block producers. The validators also submit the current network state to the Ethereum chain to ensure the security of the sidechain. And MATIC is Polygon's native token used for governance and transaction fee, but as I mentioned, it also has an ERC20 token, which allows it to be used in the entire Ethereum ecosystem for trading and so on. Validators have to stake enough MATIC to stay in the top 100, and currently they stake a little more than 3 billion MATIC, which is a lot, it's about $3.5 billion. Polygon's early scaling successes and future plans raised massive interest from both the crypto communities and these VC investors. They raised $5.6 million in their ICO in 2019 and then a staggering $450 million in early 2022, which makes Polygon one of the most funded crypto projects in the whole industry, and it does give it a long-term potential. Polygon has and is still also doing an amazing job at attracting all these big Web 2 brands to its network. This is really impressive. No one can deny that. I mean, more and more companies are exploring their transition to Web 3, and the Polygon platform has become the gateway for many of them. And the Polygon platform will be integrated in things like Robinhood's Web3 wallet and Stripe's payment service and the Walt Disney's program. Even the Firozabad police will use the Polygon blockchain to register complaints. And many brands are starting to explore the NFT space, and it seems that Polygon has become the place to release their NFT collections and build up marketplaces. NFTs have become one of the main drivers of the Polygon ecosystem, and the total number of NFTs sold on OpenSea in December and January actually topped Ethereum. And now it will look going forward, we have to wait for numbers from Blur.io, which took a big part of the transaction volume in February. But that's in number of NFTs, not in US dollar volume. Even in February, the Ethereum dollar volume was 600 million, and while this bar looks bigger, that's 100 million on Polygon. Ethereum still holds most of the value and transaction volumes for the big collections, but especially small-priced collections are searching for alternatives, and this could be especially relevant when it comes to real-world NFTs in the form of, say, vouchers and small collectibles. On the other hand, DeFi applications on Polygon could not attract more usage over the last months. Total value locked declined from a peak of 10 billion down to about 1 billion today on Polygon, so that's a factor 10. Ethereum went from about 100 billion to 28 billion today, so that's down by a little more than a factor 3, while Arbitrum is up at its 2022 high and almost as high as in 2021. And even in absolute numbers, it's at 1.8 billion compared to Polygon's now 1 billion. So on the DeFi side, that's not looking good for Matic. And if you look at TVL on all chains, we have Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Tron, Arbitrum, and only then comes Polygon at about 2% market share, just ahead of Optimism. But if we look at DApp Radar, we see that there is still a big interest in DeFi development on Polygon. There's about 1,500 DApps working on Polygon, while for Arbitrum and Optimism, that number is 150 and 125 projects. So in terms of DeFi, Polygon has barely held its market share over the last year. But will the new developments with the zkEVM change that? Will that be the catalyst that attract new DeFi projects? Because all of what we talked about before was on the current Polygon proof of stake or Matic chain. This could now change, because one of Polygon's most anticipated technical developments is the launch of the zkEVM. They call it beta, but it should go live on March 27th on mainnet, and it was already launched as testnet last year. The zkEVM uses zk rollups to process bundles of transactions and write back the proof that each bundle was accurate. Zero-knowledge proofs, or ZK proofs, is a cryptographic verification method that allows a prover, here the Polygon zkEVM, to show it had access to the information but does not need to reveal the information. With ZK rollups, a verifier can then check if the transactions are valid without having to run every single transaction again. This reduces the amount of data on the main chain and saves much time and gas fees to validate a block transaction. With ZK rollups, the validity of this can be checked instantly and then settled faster on the Ethereum main chain, so there is less withdrawal waiting time when moving back. In contrast, solutions like Arbitrum or Optimism with optimistic rollups, users have to wait for possibly days or perhaps even 1 week challenge period until they can withdraw their funds. Also, current solutions were limited to single token swaps or payments, while Polygon's zkEVM will now be able to execute smart contracts with the security of the ZK rollup techniques. This will give them a big first mover advantage over coming ZK rollup solutions from projects like ZK Sync or Scroll. And developments will continue. ZK proofs will be used in other contexts too. The Polygon team has, for example, launched a decentralized ID product powered by ZK proofs. This product allows users to verify their identity on the blockchain without giving out the sensitive data. For example, someone could verify if someone is of legal age without checking the ID itself. This gives developers a powerful tool to add features to decentralized applications that must meet regulatory requirements, for example. The EU is already discussing if this technology, not Polygon solutions but in general, could be used for digital IDs. So how does this zkEVM work? Well, first we have to understand that it's another network than this network. The native currency now will be bridged Ether to pay the L2 transaction fees. But there is also a requirement for example, the sequencer to lock a number of Matic tokens. On the layer 1 side, every sequencer must pay a fee in the form of Matic tokens to earn the right to create and propose batches. But what is it? Well, the zkEVM is just another virtual machine compatible with a normal Ethereum virtual machine. It has recreated all the existing EVM opcodes and so on, so developers can transparently deploy their existing Ethereum smart contracts. So this means that you can take your Ethereum layer 1 smart contract and run it on this network instead. Building dApps on zkEVM is completely similar to Ethereum. Simply switch to the zkEVM RPC and start building on the network with much higher throughput and lower fees. EVM-like experience for developers and users alike. You do not need special tooling or new wallets for building or interacting with the zkEVM. If you're using MetaMask, you just swap to this network instead. And for moving assets across chain, use the zkEVM bridge. The bridge interface is available here. So as a user, you can just swap your MetaMask just like you do if you swap from Ethereum to Binance Smart Chain or whatever. And then once you've bridged, you can just stay in that, so to say, trusted L2 state. But contrary to what I said earlier, due to certain protocol characteristics, the verification process for L2 transactions on layer 1 to enable withdrawals can take a long time, typically around 30 minutes, but up to 2 weeks in rare cases. As a result, users should be mindful of the potential risks associated with high-value transactions, particularly those that cannot be reversed, such as off-ramps, over-the-counter transactions, and alternative bridges. So there is still complexity linking this layer 2 state back to layer 1. What are the main features? All smart contracts work, actually leveraging the Ethereum security, order of magnitude higher throughput than layer 1, and of course lower cost compared to layer 1. Does Polygon zkEVM have a separate token? No, ETH will be used for gas fees. MATIC will be used for staking. Governance in Polygon zkEVM. Not my misspelling, this is the official document. This is different from Arbitrum, where investors hope for an Arbit token airdrop, but MATIC already has one, so. Then there is this zkEVM bridge. A bridge means that you have one network here, another network here. You have a bridge contract where you lock this token and then mint a claim on the other network on the other side. The two networks in zkEVM are identical except for where each is deployed. Bridge L1 contract is on the Ethereum mainnet in order to manage asset transfers between rollups, while Bridge L2 contract is on a specific rollup and is responsible for asset transfers between mainnet and the rollup. Layer 2 interoperability allows a native mechanism to migrate assets between different L2 networks. This solution is embedded in the Bridge smart contract. Users need some funds to perform any L2 transaction. Then the users need to transfer some Ether from layer 1 to layer 2 through the zkEVM Bridge D app. Basically, deposit Ether, wait until this happens on L2, perform claim on L2 and receive the funds. Why are all these details important? Well, they are actually, because they are right here. Bridge security. How do zero-knowledge proofs improve what has until now been a point of vulnerability? I don't know if you watched some of my earlier videos from 2022, but we had a lot of bridge hacks, and I said before any of them happened that this is one of the biggest security issues in smart contracts. If you have two chains, one strong chain like Ethereum and one weaker chain, you can attack on one side, but then you withdraw funds on something which can't be rolled back, for example on Ethereum. And this kept happening over and over again after I said that. Bridges have consistently been a focus of attackers because they rely on trusted intermediaries. So what will govern the bridge with Polygon zkEVM? A smart contract on L1 and smart contract on L2, and between them math. When cryptography is the intermediary, compromising the bridge would require creating proof for an invalid transaction, which can't happen with a proving system that is sound. There's no entity in the middle that can be attacked, but there can still be bugs. Still, this is one of the most important improvements, and I think one that will fly a little bit under the radar because most people don't understand what this is doing. Another key point of confusion is the scalability. To build these proofs, that is quite computer intensive, but this process can run in parallel. That means that you can have one server computing the prover for batch 1, a second server for batch 2, third server for batch 3, and so on. If the network is in high demand and many batches are generated, you can spin up as many provers as you need. And then if the load decreases, you can turn them off again. So the scaling architecture is sound. And of course it will be lower cost, something that I really care about. Not long ago it was thought that zkEVM would be too costly and required specialized hardware to be practical. But proving time is now under 2 minutes and the cost has gone down dramatically. The cost of proving a single Uniswap transaction on Polygon zkEVM, 0.19 cents. And then Polygon zkEVM is configured to batch and aggregate transactions. The latest from the public testnet is that generating a proof for a batch of 250 ERC20 tokens costs the prover 6 cents. The cost to the individual user sending one ERC20 token, 0.01 cent. And the mechanism to secure the transactions back to the layer 1 Ethereum network is better than in the optimistic rollups case, in my opinion, because malicious transactions can stay on optimistic rollups valid for up to 7 days or more before being reversed. So this is a lot of information, but what is the conclusion here? First, all these Web 2 partnerships before, and now with the launch of zkEVM has built a strong bullish narrative around Polygon. Many thought that the full-featured zkEVM was still 3 to 5 years ahead. Now it perhaps will launch in 2.5 weeks. And unlike the first Polygon POS MATIC chain, that was really just a separate network with some sprinkle on top, this is real integration to Ethereum. It is. Perhaps this will open the door to even more new partnerships, new use cases to enter the space. And zkEVM is not the only scaling solution Polygon has to offer. For example, Polygon SuperNets focused on the creation of public and private Ethereum-compatible blockchains, while this one, Polygon Miden, allows data-heavy applications to run blockchains in private. Also, Polygon's plan and marketing to focus on carbon negativity meets the agenda of many institutions and will further increase interest. For sure, that's a huge tick in the box for many. Polygon has built a strong technical infrastructure, a strong community, and a lot of real-world partnerships. They could turn out key for real mass adoption of the technology, blockchain. So, what are the issues then? Well, one is complexity. This is pretty complicated. If things start going wrong and you've actually built the confirmation into Ethereum, which you can't roll back, that's a risk. Second, even though I try to sort it out, I'm still not sure how big a role MATIC will have in the zkEVM ecosystem compared to today. It still has a technical function and it will still be used for governance, which in my opinion is more of a recommendation or a poll for opinion or interest. But my understanding is that it will reduce in importance compared to today's POS network if zkEVM becomes successful. But does that even matter? Make no mistake, crypto today is a speculative and narrative-driven game, not a utility game. You don't need a lot of ETH to use the Ethereum network. If people only bought ETH to use it for gas and they bought it just before they needed it, it wouldn't cost much. $10 maybe per ETH. But people don't just buy ETH to use it for gas. They buy it hoping that price will go up so that they can make a profit. Same with MATIC. I just want you to be aware that it's not impossible that zkEVM becomes successful while these large players offload large amounts of MATIC tokens. The success of zkEVM does not require a high price for the MATIC token. Be aware that there was a token allocation for MATIC that looked like this: Binance Launchpad, private investors, team, advisors, foundation, ecosystem, staking rewards. Which is quite different from how the Ethereum allocation looked, where almost everything was sold in the crowd sale. While it is also possible that Polygon becomes a real front end of Web3, and that you will notice less and less how it is settled back to Ethereum layer 1. There is also stiff competition now, with Arbitrum probably coming in with their own token, Solana Sol gearing up, Binance Smart Chain isn't throwing in the towel, and both Solana and BSC have a simpler model, just running the L1 a little faster. The best way to track which direction this is going is usually the chart. That's the best fundamental analysis because everything is consolidated here. And so far, this chart has not broken out through this resistance area. I'm on the MATIC to BTC chart because that isolates the movement of this protocol largely from the movements of the Bitcoin price versus the US dollar. And you don't need to know any technical analysis to see that there is a resistance here. Price has gone to that area, rejected, gone to that area, rejected, gone to that area, rejected, and now, a couple of weeks ago, gone to that area and rejected again. That means that there is sell pressure here in volume. If that changes, if large players stop selling their MATIC, the enthusiasm and the news around this should push this one higher. If large sell pressure remains at all-time high prices, that means that large players don't want to hold their MATIC. Perhaps the importance of the MATIC token is declining and they want to get out at as high prices as possible, which right now is in this region. If we look at these players, the early buyers in the launchpad, the private investors, the team, the advisors, the foundation, the large stakers, they might have a clearer inside idea of where this is going. And it is much harder for those players to hide what they're actually doing in the chart. than it is to hide behind the narrative on social media. If trend is up, if the chart is bullish, I'm game for Matic. If not, I will wait. Right now, I'm still waiting because it hasn't broken out yet. But Larsen line is gold on both the 3-day and the 1-day time frame, both on the BTC chart and on the USD chart. Don't get scammed, guys. If you're interested in my course in Larsen line, you can only get it here, ctolarsen.com. Everything else is a scam. You press here, course and indicator. An ideal entry in a situation like this would be a breakout and then a retest that holds, and this would be the ideal entry from a risk-reward perspective, because then the distance to the invalidation where we would cut it is pretty short, so the downside risk is small, while if this for some reason actually works out and we get a bigger move up, the difference between the risk and the reward is pretty good. And finally, it's time for Fan of the Day. Jonas Am, CTO is the financial dad everyone deserves, but most prefer not to listen to. Thank you, Jonas. And Matti Hapoja, dang, this is so fascinating. I always wondered how exactly big players manipulate. Matti Hapoja has a fantastic channel about filmmaking. I've learned everything from him. He lives in Canada, but I met him in Helsinki in this video. Definitely go check it out. Thank you, tack. CTO Larsen out. Hej då.